All right. And we're all joining in. Good.
Did I do it?
You did.
Oh.
We're still waiting on Addie, who will be going live momentarily, I'm sure.
Hey, there we go.
Gang's all here.
All right. Well, thank you to everyone for joining us here on our very first live stream for Manifest the RPG. You might recognize me from the video. I am Tommy Cottin. I'm the creator of Manifest. And with me are Addie Gia, who is the lead writer and co-designer of Manifest, and Sean Foer, who is one of our senior playtesters.
Ooh, senior
Right?
playtester.
Yeah, you've been doing this for a handful of years, just being my guinea pig.
3 or more, maybe?
So, we are going to start off this live stream with a demo of the game. We're going to play a short little session, 45 minutes to an hour probably. Actual play, Addie and Sean will be the players. I will be running the game. And we will play through that whole session. You'll get to see the game in action, and then we will stick around for a little bit of a Q&A, an Ask Me Anything. Sean will dip out, and Addie and I will answer everyone's questions about everything there is to ask about Manifest. So feel free to start submitting those questions whenever you want, and we will address them at the end of the demo.
So apparently some people can't hear us.
No, that's interesting.
Is it just me? Someone is and anyone can you guys let us know in the chat if you can hear us okay?
All right. Well, yeah, let's see. I don't know if I can give... that person's getting audio.
Oh,
all right. Okay.
Oh, apparently you guys have to click the volume in Kickstarter. I don't know what that means, but I believe in you guys that you can figure it out.
Sounds like a classic case of user error.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you guys for letting us know that you...
Yeah, also, if
having
anything blips out, like if we drop the audio, if the video goes out, pummel us with chats, we'll be watching that.
Oh, freak out all at us, yes.
All right. I'm also fiddling with the go live on Facebook beta for this Kickstarter stream. So while I do that, let's take a moment and have Addie and Sean introduce the characters that they will be playing in tonight's demo.
Sure.
Whoever wants to go first.
I guess I'll go first. So my character is Juliet Hunt. For those of you who have seen the Essential NPCs podcast, or I guess heard, then you will know that she is a gunslinger. But this is well before the Series 9 of Essential NPCs. She is much younger, though she still looks old for her age. She is just a kid at this point. She's has some tragic backstory, I'm sure, and will eventually reveal it. And she's been traveling with Cyrus, Sean's character, for just a little while.
Yeah, I'm playing Cyrus Finch, who is a snake oil salesman and ostensibly a doctor. He rides around in a big van, which is a hybrid of an ambulance, a medicine show, and an ice cream truck, from which he... Oh, there it is! There it is! It's Dr. Cyrus's traveling apothecary, from which he peddles his various wares, whether they be legitimate or salt, water, and lemon juice. Not important. Not important. What's important is that you feel better.
Hey, if placebo does the trick, who's to say it wasn't what they needed?
Yeah. Here's what ails you. Yeah. Cyrus also has a very deep and complicated backstory that we don't need to get into.
Not at all. So as far as histories and paths go, because in the Kickstarter video, I mentioned that every character chooses at character creation a history and a path, and that informs some of their abilities and how their stats kind of lay out. So really quick, Addie, what is Juliet's history and path?
Sure. Juliet is her history is settler, which is basically a person in a small town who grew up in a small society, but nothing too big. With the society had to band together in order to survive the wilds, and she is a gunslinger. She is all of that white hat, live by a code, die by a code, quick draw specialist that you imagine when when you imagine with the word gunslinger.
And Doc?
Yeah, Doc Cyrus's his history. He ran away from his family, which coincidentally was part of the family, to do what every young boy dreams of, join the circus. So his background is carny, because they really raised him. They raised him right. And his path is not of the doctor or the grifter, as some might believe, but actually the peddler. At his heart, he's a salesman.
All right, and then the final thing before we dive into the actual play. One of the things that contributes to characters leveling up, it's one of the things that's chosen by their path, is it's a list of what we call advancement triggers. They are narrative touchstones that when they happen in a session, everyone involved gets an experience point, and that's how characters level up. So it encourages you to kind of play towards type, kind of find ways to guide the narrative towards the kind of things that your character should be interested in given the path that you chose. And so that the audience can kind of keep an eye out for when we're steering the story one way or the other towards some of these triggers. Let's take a moment and have everybody go ahead and say what their advancement triggers are. So Juliet, how about you go first?
Sure. My advancement triggers are: a matter is settled with a gun. I don't think it'll come up. An innocent life is saved with an exchange of bullets. Justice is delivered through the swiftest means possible, and someone evil is shot dead. And in playtesting, we've set this. We've called this like the hitting them all at once, because the goal is to hit all of these with one bullet as a gunslinger. So hopefully I can do that today.
And Cyrus's advancement triggers are: an item's usefulness is over-exaggerated. You draw a crowd to inspect your wares. You restock your inventory, and someone purchased something they don't actually want or need.
So what you can notice there right away is, so these are the triggers that they have chosen out of a list of triggers associated with the path they chose. And then what you can see is some of these triggers specifically say, you do something, you do this. And then some of them are just open-ended. Just like, if this happens, regardless of if it's you or someone else. And so that actually encourages players to kind of sometimes pick up some of the traits of their traveling companions to kind of push the experience and the level up along. Okay, so we're going to jump into this here demo, and basically Cyrus and Juliet have been traveling together for a few months now. They've been on a couple adventures together, and they now find themselves 3 days out of New Fenton, which is a small remote settlement in the Western Badlands. I assume you are taking Cyrus's trusty van, Veronique, I believe is its name.
Yes.
So, Cyrus, since this is the beginning of a session and you are behind the wheel of a vehicle, I would like you to roll for gas and see how your resource management is going.
All right. That roll is...
It's bad, if I recall.
Yeah. It's... My target's the body? How many dice?
No, your target is your fuel stat.
My fuel stat, okay. Ah, jeez. Okay. No, that's 0 hits.
Okay.
No.
So, Cyrus, because you failed your fuel test, at the end of this session, you will run out of gas. Wherever your van is at the end of the session, it is going to need you to refuel it. So
We have to drive as far as possible.
so at some point, you're probably going to want to pick up some gas to make it so that you're not dead in the water at the beginning of the next session. Okay, so 3 days ride into New Fenton. You guys, are going to have to stop and make camp every once in a while because there's not that many settlements between where you are and New Fenton. Anything you two are getting into on the trip there?
If New Fenton is town, then there better be people who have money there, and I want to craft something to sell to them.
Fair enough.
So let's. Oh, you know what? Let's finish my love tonic, my tier 3 personality tonic. The old turn on the charm.
Okay, so at some point along the way in the journey, maybe when you're setting up camp, Cyrus climbs into the back of the van and starts brewing some tonic. So go ahead and roll first aid, which is linked to your reasoning attribute. So you roll a number of dice equal to your reasoning attribute in half. And your target is first aid modified by anything you may have, like, say, a med kit.
I do have a med kit. It's very nice. It gives me +2, so I'll be rolling 4 dice against a target of 15. Well, I did get a critical there.
So your that die will explode into an additional die because you rolled exactly your target of 15.
Yeah. So that's going to be 3 hits.
All right. Well, how many more did you need to finish that love tonic that you're making?
Just 2.
Oh,
Just
cool.
2. I think,
right.
Yeah.
So then how many times did you roll in total to make that tonic over the course of before and now?
3 total.
Okay. Well, being a tier 3 tonic, that is going to be a standard quality tonic, so you don't get to cut any of the side effects.
Okay.
So you can notate that in your inventory. You have completed a bundle of those tonics. You have 3 uses.
Ooh, nice.
All right. And with that complete, Juliet, were you, I guess, just keeping watch at night? No crafting for you?
Yep, I don't do that stuff. So, fiddly.
All right. In that case, the 3 days into New Fenton are relatively uneventful. You actually don't see anyone else on the road, save for when you are about a little less than a day from town. As you're riding into town, it's nighttime, but clear skies in the Badlands, and you see through the light of the 2 moons of Manifest and its asteroid belt, a pair of horses galloping at top speed towards some mountainous terrain to the south.
Yikes. They're on the run. Fugitives.
Or running from something. Can I look around? Make sure that there ain't nothing up ahead?
That's what fugitive means.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Yeah, okay.
So go ahead.
Running from something.
Juliet, you may roll an observe test, which is linked to your awareness stat. It is, even though it's, well lit night, it is still night, so go ahead and take a -1.
Okay. Wait, you said -2?
-1.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah, that's a 10, so that's 1 hit.
1 hit? Okay, so with 1 hit, that is going to be a partial success. So you'll get some information, but maybe not as much as you were hoping for. What you do notice is it's 2 horses and 3 men. And one horse has a single rider, and the other has a rider and a passenger. And they're riding breakneck speed towards what you can kind of see. There's some kind of structure in the mountainous terrain that they're riding towards. You can't really make out what it is or anything like that. Maybe it's just like a homestead. Maybe it's like a cabin. It could even be the entrance to a mine. You just see like a little bit of darkness contrasting against the mountains there. But, the road is bumpy and it's dark and you can't really make it out.
But there's no danger ahead of us.
There's nothing. There's nothing yet. No,
okay.
There's nothing coming up ahead.
Is
I
there
don't care
something
about
that you don't? Did you catch what they're fugiting from?
No.
No, there doesn't seem to be anything else that Juliet can spot. She's kind of scanning the area. She sees where they're heading and then looks where they're coming from. Doesn't seem to be anything chasing after them actively at this moment.
It don't look like nothing. It maybe they're, I don't know, thieves or superstitious. Who knows?
Having a race?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not. That's not
I don't know what else. What else is there to do around here?
I don't know.
In a couple of days, fall in love.
Right.
Wait, what?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just finished Doc Cyrus's patented love tonic. Anyone who takes it suddenly finds themselves irresistible to anyone they speak to.
I'm sure.
Oh, you'll see. Oh, you will see. Watch and learn.
Okay,
so we get into New Fenton.
Less than a day's ride continues, and you arrive on the outskirts of New Fenton in the early morning hours. The town of New Fenton is unspectacular in many ways. It's comprised of just a few crossing roads, under 24 homes, and less than half that many businesses. The long-range communications tower of this settlement looks like it was cobbled together from refurbished parts. Now, most of the homes in town are made of mud brick, which makes the majority of the shops in town stand out because most of them are made out of wooden design. And as you enter town from the east, you see the Harper Stables to your left, and the New Fenton General Store to your right. And a little ways beyond that, you spot the Galloping Gumbaroo Saloon, which is a large enough establishment that you'd bet your last spur it has vacancies on any given day of the week in this town.
Well, I guess we found our lodging. Is there a town square around here?
The Galloping Gumbaroo is stationed kind of right at the crossroads of New Fenton.
Let's see if I can park my van right around there, if there's any foot traffic after sunrise.
Yeah, it's just before sunrise, so there's not a whole lot of traffic at this moment, and you can easily coast yourself into town, get right nearby the watering hole, and park your van right there. Very good sight lines where you ended up parking, for sure.
That's good, and I'm brightly colored, so I'm going to be tough to miss.
All right. You do have a little bit of time. I assume Cyrus during that time might be setting up shop.
You are absolutely correct. So I'm going to be pouring various fluids into vials and setting them up attractively. I'm going to pop open a little door on the side of Veronique and fold out the stage so I can stand on it. I'm going to have a bunch of placebo tonics out there for anybody who wants to buy those. And then in a nice wooden box, which I open up and light from underneath, I'm going to set on like a velvety cushion some of my healing tonics, some of my antitoxins, and 2 of my 3 personality tonic love potions. The 3rd I will reserve for myself, and I do believe I've restocked my inventory.
Go ahead and take an XP for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so Juliet, while Cyrus is fiddling with all of his vials and setting up the van as like kind of a makeshift shop, what are you doing?
So it's before dawn, is what you said?
Yeah, just before. The sun is starting to crest over the horizon.
All right. So it ain't worth paying the rent with my single spur for a room, I think. So I'm just gonna put my very fine hat over my head and lean the front seat back of the van and take a good old nap for a little while and see what happens after that.
All right. So a little bit of time passes. Cyrus, you're waiting patiently, and you start to see some people starting to move around. Some people heading to the saloon. Some people who were staying at the saloon stepping out for the day. And you're starting to catch some eyes, right? Some people are starting to glance your way. No one's quite coming up yet. Everyone's kind of taking a look, seeing what's going on. The crowd's a little cold this early in the morning.
Oh, that's all right. I know just how to warm them up. So I'm going to pull my love potion out of my vest, bite the cork, and I'm going to down it. I'm going to get +1 to personality and to all personality skills as I step up on the stage. And I'm going to start carnival barking. All right, folks. Good morning, New Fenton. Step right up. Take a gander. Doc Cyrus's traveling apothecary. The doctor is in. I got all the cures for the ailments you have. I've got cures for ailments you haven't even heard of. Have you heard of the galloping plague that is running through this area of the Badlands? Well, I have. I've been going through curing it. Well, if you'd like to get vaccinated against it right now, I've got racks upon racks of the vaccine right here. Only at Doc Cyrus's traveling apothecary. Stop on by. Stop on by.
All right. Well, first off, take a grit for some excellent role play. And then go ahead and roll a manipulate test to try to draw some attention and maybe find some marks in this crowd.
Sounds good to me. I'm going to have a +2. I'm going to be rolling my bonus personality with an extra die for my +1. I've got a +1 to the skill from the love potion, and for my performer talent for a theatrical performance, I'll be taking an extra +2.
What?
So I'm going to be rolling 4 dice against 16.
All right.
Wow.
Well, let's see how disciplined this crowd is.
I'm also going to spend 2 grit here to play to the gallery so I can count this 17 high and make it a crit.
All right, so that 17 will explode into a new die.
Feeling pretty good. I got 4 hits, 17 high.
Okay, well, you were up against an 8.
Yeah, I'll be counting 3 of those hits.
All right, so three net successes is going to be an excellent success. It's not just what you're going for. You're actually drawing a bigger crowd. It seems people are hearing you, and people who weren't going to be like in this thoroughfare are starting to like come out and be like, "What's going on?" And someone else being like, "Hey, come on, check this out." And like you're actually starting to get a pretty sizable crowd. It's almost like the entire town of New Fenton is coming to check it out. And immediately you get a couple people who are coming up and being like, "Well, how much for the vaccine?"
Oh, have I drawn a crowd to inspect my wares?
You have, so you can have
very good.
another XP for everybody. And because you hit 2 of your advancement triggers, Cyrus, that's going to be another grit for you.
Nice. For the vaccine, I've got a special today, my good man. I've got 2 for 1. That's 2 vaccines for 1 spur. I'll vaccinate you and your lovely husband or wife or kids, whatever. 1 spur, no trouble. 1 spur, I'll vaccinate you both. And I'm going to dip my med kit into one of these just like total placebo vials.
Some saline solution.
Yeah, and give everybody who wants a vaccine against that terrible plague from 2 towns over.
Yeah, they start asking you about the side effects, and as you tell them about them, they're all like, "Oh no, yeah, come on, we'll do it. Yeah, spurs of steel. And over the course of the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so, you make 5 spurs.
Not bad. I'll be sure to administer the vaccines right next to my beautiful setup of higher quality tonics. Don't worry about those. Not important. Don't worry about it. Those are just my premium tonics. My miracle tonics, you could say.
Some people seem intrigued by that, and they start kind of coming up to ask. Juliet, sitting there in the van. You can't sleep when Cyrus is at his work. He's too loud. So
that's the idea.
What are you just trying to fall asleep, or are you moving around, or what's Juliet up to at this moment?
Sure. So I'm not getting up to much. I I don't like to stray too far when he's doing his little gambit, as we have been run out of town before on quick notice. So I will just step out of the van and sort of walk the perimeter, make sure nobody looks angry or suspicious, or see if I can't hear any rumors, or I don't know.
Sure. So that will be another observe test.
Oh no.
You have some time though. No one's really keeping an eye on you. Cyrus is legitimately all eyes on him.
I didn't notice.
So because of his 3 successes from earlier, you can have a little bit of a boost here. No one's really trying to hide anything from you. So that will be we'll put you at a +1 for your observe.
Okay. So that's 2 hits.
Okay. So you have just enough time kind of scanning the crowd, doing the perimeter, to spot someone who comes out of the saloon, and you don't think this guy woke up in a saloon bedroom and then came out. You think this guy's just finished drinking at the saloon and has made his way out. And the way he kind of walks out, it's like he's looking for Cyrus, and he spots him. He's a little wavy, and then as Cyrus continues talking, and he's starting to give the big sales pitch on his premium tonics to some gullible townsfolk. Actually, they're probably mostly actually legitimate tonics, but
these are the real ones.
Yeah, these are the real ones. But he's getting angrier and surly and very surly, and that guy seems a little disgruntled, and you think he may recognize Cyrus.
Okay.
But you don't have enough time to necessarily get to the guy or intercede or even get to Cyrus. You're kind of at the complete opposite end of the crowd. You can move a little bit before something happens. So where would you be heading at that moment?
So if he's going around one way, I'm gonna sort of head on the symmetrical direction. So I'm not gonna cut him off if I don't have the time for it, but I will look him in the eye, so to speak, if we were to come head to head, I think.
Okay. So he takes a shot from a little shot glass he brought out of the bar with him, and he just
what?
He kind of just. Oh yeah, sorry, didn't mean to scare you with that.
Shot fired.
No, he takes a shot of whiskey from a shot glass that he has with him, and he drops it on the deck of the Galloping Gumbaroo Saloon. And then he kind of steps down a little bit, and he shouts out in between Cyrus's sales pitch, being, "Dr. Finch! Cyrus Finch! I recognize you!" And the crowd between Cyrus and this fella parts.
That's right, folks. I am very recognizable, famous doctor. Now, next up, for the man who's got a lot of enemies.
You do not remember me, do you? I'm the sorry sack you fleeced for 5 spurs back in Flagstone 2 weeks back. This man here is a liar and a cheat and a fraud.
Those are strong words, sir. But as I was saying, for the man who has a lot of enemies, can I recommend Doc Cyrus's Hoop Snake Oil Antitoxin? Directly from the venomous glands of the hoop snake.
You watch as the people around you begin to remove themselves from this altercation. Some of them are retreating indoors, while others simply pull back to a safe viewing distance. And the crowd basically begins to clear so that it's you, Juliet on the outskirts, and this guy. And he the people who you sold vaccines to, they don't remove themselves a whole lot. And he continues walking towards you, kind of moving around a little bit. He gets a few paces forward and stops as he's talking. He goes, "You fork-tongued toad! You sold me a vial of salted tap water, claiming it was a special brew that would help me win at cards. I lost 25 spurs that night, and I ain't had nothing but bad luck since. Now, you may have been..." Go ahead.
I'm gonna call it user error.
You get like a couple chuckles from the crowd. Now you may have managed to scurry out of town before I became wise to your grift, sir. But I found you now, and it's time you get what's coming to you. And his hand drops down to his gun.
Okay. At this moment, I will
grab one of my healing tonics.
At this moment, I will step forward and I will like do the like brush my coat back over my holsters in a very cool. There must have been some wind kind of way, and I'm gonna go. Now, sir, you wouldn't be drawn down on an unarmed man, now would you?
He looks at you, looks at Cyrus, and he goes, "The hell are you?"
Don't matter much if you're gonna try and murder somebody, now does it? See, because then you and I have a problem.
He looks at you. You see his eye kind of flit to your jacket as if to search for a tin star. And then he goes, "What, you with this guy? You fucking, you one of his crew? You got some muscle to protect you from the people you wrong, Mr. Finch?" And he turns...
We're not, it's not a...
And he turns to you, Juliet, and he goes, and he hasn't removed his hand from his gun yet, and this guy is a good, like, 1.5 feet taller than you, broad, thick man, and he kind of looks down at you, and he, like, spits on the ground, and he goes, "You ain't got the stones. And I would like you to roll a challenge test."
Okay.
To see what goes on about this quick draw that's about to happen.
All right. So my personality is I'm going to roll 3 dice for that, and then my challenge, since I am the fastest gun in the Badlands, I will roll at a +1.
Yes.
I have. Oh, that's not great. I have a 12 high.
What's your highest?
12.
Okay. His highest is 0.
All right.
I rolled very bad for this man.
Oh,
Might I recommend Doc Cyrus's patented love tonic? It also works on quick draw.
And I have 3 hits on that.
Okay. So that will give you first off, you win the challenge, and if it goes into quick draw, you will get a +1 to your quick draw skill. What do you say to this guy after he questions your ability to draw on him?
Right. I didn't think stones were a requisite for pulling your gun, but if that's what you need, that's fine. I think you should stand down, sir, before you get yourself hurt.
So you say that, and there's like a bite to your final words that seems to sober him just a little bit, and he kind of like takes an involuntary step back, and his hand kind of shakes on his on the hilt, or not the hilt, the handle of his pistol, and he is going to concede this quick draw. He is not going to draw on you. So because you won the challenge and the person who lost the challenge conceded, you get a little bit of narrative control over what happens. You and I will work together to figure out what is the next thing that happens in the scene. The one conceit, the one thing you do not get to do is shoot this person. There will be no combat of any kind. This will not resort to violence. And pretty much anything else can happen if you can convince me. What's going on? What do you want to have happen?
Well, obviously, I want him to give up his quarry with Cyrus. But is that
might be a little much.
No? Okay.
Obviously, he's not going to try and shoot Cyrus anytime soon, but he might still seek retribution in other ways. He did get fleeced out of some money. You like take a glance at Cyrus. You've traveled with Cyrus long enough. You're pretty sure this guy actually did buy something from Cyrus that wasn't legitimate.
Okay. So let's see. Well, I got what I wanted, which is he's not going to shoot Cyrus. What's the middle between shooting Cyrus and going away forever?
He may be amicable to other ways to resolve this issue. If you want to try and like talk it out, or take him to the sheriff, or if you want to like bribe him or pay him back, he'll like leave it alone.
Do you have 5 spurs?
What? Who? Me? I mean, no.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like maybe like gross, but not net income from today.
Okay.
Plus, it's you believe this guy? Come on, ridiculous,
okay.
Ridiculous accusation.
How's about this? There's an authority in this town. Why don't we go talk to him or her?
I don't know if we need to get the
I think
law.
That's fair, Cyrus.
Involved.
If you didn't do anything, then why don't we head on over to the Tin Star and see if the sheriff can't sort this all out?
This guy's like, yeah, let's talk to the sheriff.
Let's talk to the sheriff.
Oh, but it's prime time. Doc Cyrus will be back, folks. He will be back, and he will demonstrate his miracle tonics and prove their efficacy. Fine. The law it is then.
So we're going to head over we're going to close up shop, make sure your wares are all safe, and then head on over to the sheriff, and everything will get squared away.
Yeah, I have to assume that Cyrus's setup is designed in a way that it can be closed up very quickly.
Boom! Faster than you expected.
So yeah, you close up shop. The sheriff's office is not very far away because New Fenton is not very big. And the three of you.
Before we do get there, I do want to say an item's usefulness was definitely over-exaggerated, and a lot of people bought something they didn't want or need.
Yeah, that's 2 more XP for everybody.
Oh, man.
Cyrus,
maybe not in one bullet, but
in one scene.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that is the ideal situation for Cyrus to exist in. However, walking to the sheriff's office is not the ideal situation for Cyrus.
And yet it also always happens.
All right, so the 3 of you go walking towards the sheriff's office. It is small, made out of mud brick, and you actually see the sheriff waiting for you. She is leaning against the door frame. She has dark eyes, dark black, long hair pulled back into a ponytail. Her left arm is in a rudimentary sling, just a white piece of cloth tied around her neck. And she stands with a fortitude that, despite her injury, makes you kind of still fear the large pistol that's strapped to her hip. Juliet, by the looks of it, just glancing at her gun like you typically do. It's definitely been modified to probably fire in a burst, and it has a box magazine that feeds directly into the side of the barrel. And she gives you a wry smile as these 2 men are kind of sheepishly like walking behind you, like Cyrus like kind of begrudging, trying to like keep his distance from this drunk guy who's like angry at him but too scared to do anything because you might shoot him dead. And she gives you a wry smile, and she goes, "It's not often someone rounds up the troublemakers for me."
Always here to help, Sheriff.
Troublemakers, plural. Sorry, it's just the one over here. I'm actually here to offer my services free of charge to a wounded lawwoman.
She gives you a slight glance and then turns back to Juliet and goes, "Tabitha Tillman. Come on in, let's have a chat."
Juliet Hunt, thank you very much. And I take my very fine hat and I'll just let it hang by its strings.
So she leads you into the sheriff's office, which is very small and simple. The interior houses only a weapons locker, 2 holding cells, and the sheriff's desk. So you enter this relatively cramped space, and there is one thing that is very clearly out of place. The entire exterior wall of the left holding cell is missing. Though, Cyrus, you do happen to note the cell to the right is intact and vacant.
Hey, if I get a pick of rooms, I know my first choice.
So Tabitha kind of leans against the desk, lets out a sigh, and goes, "Why don't you tell me what's going on here?" And the drunkard starts speaking up immediately. He goes, he gives the same he gives the same spiel, the salt water and everything, and he goes, and long and short of it, Sheriff, I paid the man 5 spurs, I lost 25 spurs against his guarantee. Way I see it, this man owes me 30 spurs.
All right, okay. Well, I imagine a little bit of sleight of hand, a little that can be induced by my tonics, but poor skill, terrible card player, nothing can fix that. Your sheriffship.
Go ahead and roll manipulate against the sheriff and see how bad her discipline is.
Good thing I've got all these bonuses. I do have 4 hits, 12 high.
Oh, she has an 11 high.
Look, all I'm saying is that every drunkard who comes out blaming me for his loss at cards, I feel like you can't give credence to that. All I was doing was coming in to offer your town medical services at an affordable price. Your sling's looking a little beat up. Your holding cell doesn't look like it would hold much.
How many net hits did you get with your 12 high?
Just the one.
All right, so it is going to be a little bit of a partial. So she looks at Cyrus, looks at this guy, and then turns to Juliet and goes, "Where do you figure in all this?"
He was giving me a ride through town, and this gentleman over here, I refer to the man we've been calling the drunkard, and was going to shoot him dead in the street, and I certainly couldn't have that. So I stopped the murder best as I could without violence.
The sheriff raises an eyebrow to this guy and goes, I wasn't going to shoot him, Sheriff. I was going to bring him here myself. Yeah. Unconvincingly. And Sheriff turns to Cyrus and goes, all right. Well, here's what we're going to do, Dr. Finch. I'm going to go ahead and keep you here a little while and send out some messages over the LRC and see if any of the neighboring settlements in the area have heard of Dr. Cyrus, and if any of them have anything to say as to his character.
I'm sure the reviews will all be glowing.
Up until then, I am going to have to restrain you in this here cell. Charlie, go on down to the Gumbaroo. Tell Felix I'll pay for your tab. You stay there and tell him I told him to keep an eye on you. And he goes, free drinks? Yes, ma'am. And he leaves. And the sheriff slides open the holding cell that doesn't have a destroyed wall.
Damn it.
And she ushers and she says, Dr. Finch, if you will. Ma'am, I don't suppose you mind sticking around here. Your input could be invaluable.
No, of course not. Though, I will say, I will say that Dr. Finch has his ways, but he's not doing harm to anybody, as far as I can tell. And Cyrus, hush. And I think maybe a resolution to help y'all might be in order. Maybe.
She
seems you've recently come into some trouble, as I'm guessing from your lack of, or I suppose what you'd call your new ventilation, and maybe I could help you resolve that.
She lets out a sigh, and for the first moment, like that kind of fortitude she's been standing with kind of wanes just a little bit to show how tired she really is. And she goes, "That there's nothing more than a reminder of what I get when I don't listen to my gut. Fella rolled into town matching a bounty posted on the LRC. Bobby the Butcher, they call him. Killed 4 people up at a saloon up in Pearl Ridge and did it over a spilled drink. And then he killed another 2 out of town, on the ride out of town just for kicks. Anywho, I caught him deep in his cups at the Gumbaroo and locked him up for transport instead of stringing him up right then and there like I knew I should," she says, moving over to like lay hands on Cyrus and kind of guide him towards the cell. And she continues speaking, "I just couldn't shake the notion that the folks up at Pearl Ridge deserved to see him hang. Of course, like you might guess, he was only here about a day before 3 of his compadres rolled into town late at night, blew a hole in my wall, and rode off with them. One of them was hiding out of sight and damn near shot my arm off when they were hightailing out of here. Cowards." And then she places Cyrus in the cell. She hasn't shut the door yet, but
Yeah, I put my foot between the door and the door jamb. Well, actually, Juliet and myself are specialists in not only medicine but also the apprehension of fugitives. But Juliet, she's great. She's very capable. But without me, I don't know if she'd be able to get the job done.
3-on-1 ain't great odds. That'd probably be fine, but having some backup don't hurt none.
Backup, that's right. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a teamwork test. So one of you go ahead and be the lead. I assume Cyrus, as the smooth talker, is probably going to be the lead. Juliet, you are assisting Cyrus in this manipulation roll. Manipulation linked to the personality attribute. So you roll dice equal to half your personality, and your target is your manipulate stat, plus or minus any modifiers you may have. And however many successes you get will give a positive modifier to Cyrus's roll.
To the target number.
Yes.
And I got 2 hits.
All right, Cyrus, you're rolling out a plus 2.
Oh, wait, I have a reroll. Hold on. 3 hits.
Plus 3, Cyrus.
That makes this 16 into another critical.
Ooh.
So I do have 3 hits, and my high is 16.
Well, the sheriff's high is a 6. So how many net successes is that?
That's 3 net hits.
All right. So she sits there, looks at Juliet's guns, looks at you a little skeptically, looks back at Juliet and goes, "Hell, if I knew where you could get him, I'd send you right away. But I don't have the first thought where he come from or where he be heading to."
Well, I think we probably saw him on their way out of town.
She straightens up at that.
Yeah, we stop it. We saw a few gentlemen on horseback hustling their way out of town at a full gallop, heading towards a house or a mine or settlement or something, not too far from here.
There's an old derelict militia outpost from before the factory wars out into the south a little bit. I bet that's where they're headed.
Okay.
Damn, I'd go with you if I could. And she kind of looks at her arm. She goes, but I'd just probably slow you down. Well, okay, if they're where you say they are, you got to move fast before they try to move on. You might be able to catch them before they pick up their camp and move on. So, all right. And she turns to Cyrus and she goes, you ain't getting out of this that easy. But
No, of course not.
Bobby the Butcher does have a bit of a bounty on him, and it would cover your debt to Charlie. So, y'all bring me Bobby the Butcher. You're clean. I'll let you ride out of town. No fuss.
Speaking of, if we're going to need to get there fast, I might need a little bit of gas for my pursuit vehicle. Is that something you could help me out with?
I might be able to get you a little bit of gas after you get him, but I'm not letting you take your car out of here, sir. I know the likes of you, them folk who live out of a vehicle. I'm going to hold on to that as collateral to make sure you come back to town.
I will be under strict guard, yeah?
I don't see a problem with it. Do you have horses or a bike or something we could take?
I can get you a couple horses. I got a few. At the stable. Talk to Ms. Harper. She'll tell her I sent you, and she'll give you a pair of horses. You go riding.
Okay. Is it all right with you, Sheriff, if we stop in? I have a thing or two I'd like to pick up from the van before we head out. Is that okay?
As long as the wheels ain't rolling, I'm happy.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sheriff. Much obliged.
All right. I hope to see you back here soon and in one piece. Oh, and Ms. Hunt?
Yes.
The bounty states dead or alive. Do with that what you will.
Yes, ma'am.
Enjoy my character references.
All right. I assume, hustle out of there. Yes.
Yeah. What are you guys collecting from the van?
I have my long arm.
Oh, your rifle?
Yeah. I'm not just carry that around town.
That makes sense.
It's ridiculous. And also my throwing knives.
Okay. So,
hey, Juliet, would you mind taking my rifle too? I can't be seen walking through this town, a doctor with my rifle slung over my shoulder. The optics are bad.
You just don't want to carry it, and I know. But fine.
Great. So we're all square. Perfect.
Juliet, 2 rifles slung over her back, her 2 shooting irons at her hip, and a bandolier of throwing knives. Walking next to prim and proper Dr. Cyrus Finch, unarmed as always.
Is the yellow one the healing one, or is it the green?
No, okay. I don't know how this could be more clear. Green cross healing, yellow X toxic. It's what's so hard about this? Wait, or was it yellow cross healing or green X?
Hi, is Miss Harper in?
Yeah, you are speaking to a large woman, and she looks down at you and goes, "You're talking to her, Bernadette Harper."
Much obliged, Mrs. Harper. We were sent here by the sheriff to go after a bounty, and she said that you would be able to provide us with some a ride out of town, temporarily, of course.
She looks at you a little bit, looks down towards the van you guys rolled into, sizes Cyrus up, and goes, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Sheriff has a couple horses. Let me grab them for you."
Oh, great.
And she grabs the horses, brings them over. 2 standard-looking horses, nothing fancy. You guys can climb up on there and start riding towards where you saw those fugitives running.
Okay.
It seems easy enough.
Sure. Love horses.
Yeah, and the ride there doesn't take super long, about as long as it took you to get into town from when you saw them, because while the horses may technically be slower than a van has to go a little bit slower not to break all the glass vials on the roadless area of the Western Badlands.
Okay, I've heard it all before, all right? Horses are dusty, okay?
The two of you can ride that direction, and you get there in the cover of night because it's a little less than a day's ride. So you don't run into any problems over there. No weird critters in your way, and you can spot the.
We do probably run into one problem: is that the side effects of that personality tonic, including irritable bowel syndrome, probably kick in along the journey.
Oh yes, oh yes, they do. That kicks in like right as you're leaving town, because the effects of your tonic are short-lived, and then the side effects kick in immediately after the effects of your tonic are done. So
it's only a love potion for the first hour.
We'll say that you're able to kind of you got to keep shifting in your saddle, and it's not great. So you have what are all the side effects? You got irritable bowel syndrome,
bad luck, irritable bowel syndrome, and -1 to determination.
Excellent. Well, all of those, except for maybe the determination one, are long-lasting effects. So yeah, you'll still be suffering from them a little bit as you start to close in on this outpost. So yeah, your belly's. You're just, oh no,
worth it. Oh, it's so worth it. Really worth it.
And you go riding into town, or you go riding, and you can see the outpost off in the distance. It's I assume you start approaching it somewhat cautiously, but even from a distance, you can kind of see it. This fort is ancient and ruined. It may have once been a compound with multiple structures, but the toll of time and probably a few battles hundreds of years ago during the factory wars have reduced it to little more than a scattering of crumbled walls around a decrepit-looking central building that remains partially intact. It stands at a fraction of its original height, and except for a large mound of rubble along its western wall, the remnants of an arched gateway appear to be the only entrance. And as you guys, get off your horses probably and start moving in stealthily from a safe distance, you can see that there is a man dressed in rough riding leathers holding a heavy-duty crossbow guarding that arched doorway.
Okay. So I'm going to hand Cyrus back his gun. Will you take mine as well, or are you fine with
Oh, just the one's fine by me.
Okay. Then I will leave my rifle with my horse.
Yeah, you can stick it in the saddle.
Yeah, and I'm gonna head on up and go greet this murderous gentleman with the care he deserves.
I'll cover you from back here.
I trust you. Don't hit me.
Healing bullets, toxic bullets, healing bullets.
So I'm gonna. Is there a way to approach him where he won't see me till the until I'm right near him?
Maybe. Roll sneaking.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna roll my finesse, and then sneak. My target is 9, so that's not great. Oh hey.
Wow. Well, his highest is a 5.
my highest is a 9. So I have 4 net hits.
Wow. Yeah. You actually can sneak right up on this guy.
Yes.
Yeah. No, this dude
Where'd she go?
There, like I said, there's like remnants of walls scattered around the grounds of this this abandoned garrison, and you like are able to dart between walls and move up stealthily under cover of night. And this guy doesn't seem to spot you. Every time you cross out in the open, he's looking the other way, or like spitting on the ground, or messing with his crossbow, or like glancing up at the gorgeous cloudless nighttime sky of Manifest.
Yeah, so I've snuck up, and then about, I've snuck up, and then about 10 feet away from him, I'll make myself known, and I'll put my gun up right to him, and be like, "Give me a reason, please."
Yeah, he does.
Cool. He reaches for his gun, and I shoot him.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so you will roll your ranged weapon skill, which is linked to finesse. So half your finesse, and your target is equal to your ranged weapon skill, which I'm sure has modifiers from your firearm.
It does.
His highest is an 8.
Okay. It's not great.
Oh, you are rolling at a +1 for being like point blank.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does that crit for you?
Yeah.
Never give her modifiers. That always makes her crit.
Yeah,
okay.
ladies and gentlemen who are watching, every time I give Addie modifiers, I always push her dice to exactly a number she rolled, and she gets a critical.
Even when they're minuses.
Yeah.
They're minus.
All right. I have a 14, and then I have an 11, and an 11, and an 8.
Yeah, his highest is an 8. And
right.
you are
so
the aggressor, so your 8 still
right?
counts.
Okay. So I have 4 net hits.
All right. Well, you can only count so many of them as per the accuracy of your weapon. So how much damage are you dealing?
3 net hits. That is 18 damage.
Well, let me just look at... Oh, he's dead. He's very dead.
Okay.
Yeah. You say, give me a reason. He sits there for just like half a second and then tries to dive from you to like bring his crossbow up to like shoot you in the chest. And before he can even start to make the motion, you just pull the trigger. You see like the briefest bit of motion, and he just goes poof and just flops down dead.
All right. I will continue moving in to this derelict compound.
Yeah, I'm going to need the two of you to roll initiative for me, as almost as soon as that gunshot goes off, someone makes themselves known and fires down at you, probably.
All right, I got 2 hits.
Okay.
My initiative is 5.
I got 3 hits. My initiative is 7.
All right, Cyrus is at 5. Juliet is at 7. And the baddies are at 6. Juliet, as you shoot that guy and turn, you immediately see movement at the top. That kind of that rubble that was on the side of the fort kind of like starts like trickling down a little bit as someone steps out onto it to like turn towards the sound of the gunshot. There's someone on like the upper levels, another guard, and he like turns towards you, and he is holding a rifle in his hand. But you rolled faster on initiative than he did, so what do you do?
I shoot him.
Okay, he does have a little bit of cover from you. It's light cover.
Okay.
So you will be at a -1, and he will be at a +1.
Ugh. Wow, that is legitimately a terrible roll. I know I say terrible a lot, but this is really bad.
Well, you might be able to modify it with some grit, but he rolled a 9. That's his highest roll.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend. Oh no, I can't roll more dice because I've already rolled 5.
Yeah, you won't be able to do that. Do you miss?
I miss.
You miss.
Oh shit!
No.
Never happened.
Look, those of you familiar with Juliet's character, she's young. She's still figuring it out.
It's dark.
Happens all the time.
It's dark. He has some cover.
Oh, this never happens. I swear.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
All right, so so Juliet, this guy catches you a little like by surprise, and you pull up one of your guns and you shoot, and the brick wall he's kind of like partially behind like shatters by his head. But you have another gun, and it only takes a quick action.
Gun, and I'm gonna shoot him with that one.
Yeah, it only takes a quick action to shoot a handgun, so you can shoot your second one at no penalty because you have the gunslinger talent, which allows you to dual wield with no penalty.
Okie day.
He has an 8 this time.
I have an 11.
Okay. How many net successes is that?
That's 3.
So another, what was it, 18 damage?
It's 18 damage, yes.
Okay. No piercing, right?
No piercing.
Just checking. He's still dead. Yeah, no, you blow that guy away with the second shot. First shot, and then immediately following up with the second shot. Just bang, bang. First one misses, but the second one is just a little to the side and hits him in the head, and he goes tumbling down the rubble. And at that moment, you hear a weird noise, the whirring of an engine or some kind, almost like a helicopter, maybe. Hard to say. You've only seen some roto-crafts from time to time around Manifest, but it catches your ear. And you remember something that the sheriff said. The sheriff said there were 4 of them, and one of them was hiding out of sight, but you only remember seeing 3 people on the horses. There were 2 on one horse and 1 on the other horse. And you know what? People don't always look up. When you look up now...
Oh, no!
And sure enough, it turns out these bandits have gotten their hands on an aerial cargo drone that has been modified with a heavy firearm mounted to its underside, and it comes floating overhead, and the firearm aims down at you, Juliet, and I'm going to need you to roll a dodge test.
Okay, great.
So when dodging, you can roll either athletics or gymnastics. Athletics being linked to the muscle attribute and gymnastics being linked to the finesse attribute. Now, if you had a shield, you could roll deflect to use a shield to defend yourself from this ranged attack. But you don't have a shield, so I don't think you have that much muscle, so I'm assuming you're rolling gymnastics to dodge.
Well, what? Yeah. Okay.
Oh dear.
And my armor gives me a +1 to my target, so that's great. That's good for me.
All right. Well, what is your highest?
14.
Well, I can't beat that. Even if I wanted to spend grit. I should have bamboozled you.
Could have bamboozled me.
Bamboozle, a way to spend grit to give your opponent negatives. I always forget to do it until after the dice are rolled. All right, so the drone's highest is a 10. So it will fail to shoot you. But you know what? I didn't spend my grit to bamboozle you, so I will spend my grit to double down.
No!
And let this drone have another turn. And
All
this
right,
time, okay, so I don't have that much grit. That's all my grit. Wait, no, someone spent grit.
No.
I have 1 grit left. I'm going to use it to bamboozle you to give you an additional negative to this roll.
All right.
Well,
So,
we both get a crit because you doubled down on us, yeah?
Oh,
You both get a crit. Yeah, you're both involved in the combat that I doubled down on. So, but I did get some extra grit from Cyrus, so that was nice.
All right. Okay.
I don't think it does it. Oh wait, I have more reliability.
Okay.
My highest is a 9.
I get a reroll. Hold on. Oh no.
Do I do that?
My highest is also a 9.
But the drone is the aggressor, and in Manifest, the aggressors win ties. So, that is 1 net success, and Juliet, you are going to take 7 damage with 3 armor piercing.
What? Wow.
Oh, gee, if only there were a doctor nearby.
Yeah, if only there were a doctor nearby.
But no, there's a doctor all the way over there.
I got a horse, I guess.
So the drone shoots once, you dive, rolling and trying to make your way towards some cover, and the second shot, boom, shoots you right through the leg. A big, heavy, caliber bullet shoots through, pierces your leg through and through. You stumble. Cyrus, from your vantage point off in the distance, you see all of this.
Yeah. All right. Okay. She's outgunned. That's fine. So I am going to move in toward her and take aim with my rifle at the pilot of the drone of the rotocraft. Right. There is a pilot, right? Or is it a drone?
No, it's a drone. It's a cargo drone. So this is being remotely controlled.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, I will try to shoot that down. I will put in yellow X and hope it's shock darts. Right? Shock, that's super effective against robot, right? Who knows? Doc Cyrus knows.
You are pretty smart. And yeah, electricity is bad for like electronics, so
let's short those circuits. Pew pew. I got those 2 hits, 8 high.
What?
Wow. Well, drone's not as great at dodging as it is shooting. It's a pretty lumbering. It's a cargo drone. It's meant for moving heavy things, and it doesn't seem to get out of the way. It rolled a 2 high. Okay,
I do have 2 net hits, so that's 12 shock damage.
Okay, well, because it's shock damage, I'm going to give you a little bit of bonus to the power of your weapon. So let's go ahead and add 2 power to your weapon. How much damage is that?
That would be 16 damage.
Oh, all right. Okay.
I guess maybe piercing would be important. It's 2 piercing.
Well, let me take a quick gander at this here thing's stats. How much damage did you say you did?
16.
That is not enough to down that thing, but you shoot it, and you shoot it good. You hit it with some. You hit it with your shock darts. They go flying overhead. Sticking into it and starting to like fry some of its circuits. It kind of whirs down, some smoke starts coming up from behind. And Juliet, it's your turn.
Is challenge a focused action?
No. I mean, no. Speaking isn't necessarily a focused action.
All right. Then I will shoot at this drone.
Okay, yeah, go for
it. Okay. With my injury penalty.
Yeah, you did get hurt pretty bad. Oh my god. Well, the drone did one thing. You're rolling against a 4.
Okay, great. Then I don't have to re-roll this explosion I hit from my injury penalty.
Because of course negatives always push you to everything.
So I have 3 net hits, which is 18 damage.
All right, that does the trick.
Nice.
So yeah, you you turn, you see it kind of get hit and kind of whir, and instead of diving into cover like you were going for, you instead kind of skid to a stop, line up a shot, and shoot a bullet, and you see it pierce right through the central like body of this cargo drone, and it bursts into flames. I'm hearing a bit of an echo on my end. I don't know if anyone else is.
Yeah, I got a little bit.
Really? Is it me?
Yeah, maybe.
No, it's not too bad.
But it bursts into flames, and it goes flying downwards, crashing into the ground. It's not huge. This thing's I don't know, 4 or 5 feet in diameter. I think it's on your end, Addie. I think the echo's on your end, and I think it's your headphones are too loud.
Oh no. Okay.
And we should be good. Yeah, there we go.
All right. Is that better?
Yeah.
I didn't turn the. Okay. Whatever.
And yeah, so it crashes in the ground, kind of like digging in, and smolders there a little bit. Just wreckage.
Okay. Then I will shoot. Oh no, I wrote it down, didn't I? I didn't write it down. Juliet remembers.
His name is Bobby the Butcher.
Bobby the Butcher, right. Okay. Juliet will call out, in general, very loud, Bobby the Butcher, you have exactly 4 seconds to walk your very in trouble butt out here before I come in there and end you. Yeah, which is great.
That's good from the diaphragm. That's good.
Yeah, well, yelling's real hard, and also I'm very hurt. Why didn't you heal me?
I'm sorry, you told me not to hit you, and I'm pretty sure I haven't figured out which one is healing bullets yet.
Go ahead and roll a challenge test, Juliet. You can have a +1 because you just shot down a very expensive drone.
That's good.
Which is sure to rattle someone.
Oh, maybe he's angry, and whatever I say will be enough.
Oh no, Bobby.
Okay.
So Bobby has a 7.
Okay. I'm gonna spend a little bit of grit to roll another die.
All right, you're spending grit to make your own luck and add more dice.
I'm going to make my own luck, which I have.
Right, that costs right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know how my game works.
So I have 3 net hits with an 8 high.
Okay, well, that will give you a +1 if this comes to a quick draw.
Okay.
So you shout out, and there's a little bit of a pause, and then like coming through that busted, like fractured archway out of the shadows comes Bobby the Butcher. He is a relatively short guy. He's like 5 feet tall, like at most. But he's like very built. He's like built like a bulldog. He's got broad, like strong shoulders, thick like forearms, and on his hip you see a large 6-shooter. And on his other hip you see a very big like Bowie knife. And he steps out, he looks at you and he goes, "Little lady, you don't know what you got yourself into."
Oh boy.
And he is not going to concede. He is going to quick draw you.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll quick draw, which is linked to the finesse stat. You do have a +1 because of your successful challenge, how successful you were. So go ahead and roll that, and he will roll quick draw, and we will see who hits who for how much damage. Take a point of grit as Bobby makes his own luck.
Okay.
I swear, Bobby's not terrible at quick draw, though he
Well.
must be very shaken.
Yeah. People don't expect a lot from a youngin, I guess.
So Bobby's highest is a 5.
Okay. So my highest is a 14. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits on him.
All right, so in quick draw, the damage is calculated just a little bit differently from normal combat. Your power still contributes to how much damage you do per net success. However, you're not limited by the accuracy of your weapon. In fact, the accuracy adds to the power of your weapon. So go ahead and add your power and accuracy together. And how many net hits did you get? Because multiply that by the power and tell me how much damage you deal to Bobby the Butcher.
40.
That killed just about anyone, I think.
Yeah. No, yeah. So he's like, you don't know what you got yourself into, ironically. And his hand drops down to his gun. And Cyrus, you were like moving in to like try and get a better look, but you just kind of freeze. And the whole night goes dead silent for what seems like a long time. And then the moment that Bobby moves his hand to grab the grip of his pistol, you see it in his eyes, Juliet. He realizes you're faster than him, and he absolutely underestimated you. As he doesn't even manage to pull his gun fully out of the holster, you just flip out your gun, fan the hammer like it's nothing, just going through the motions you were trained by your gunslinger mentor. This guy is not a challenge for you at all. You just, bam, shoot him right through the heart. He stumbles back and doesn't even manage to pull the trigger on his gun before he falls down dead.
Okay, here we go. Has this matter been settled with a gun?
Yes, the matter was settled with a gun.
All right. Has justice been delivered through the swiftest means possible?
I'd say so, yeah. You didn't even try to talk to anybody.
Has someone evil been shot dead?
Yeah, Bobby the Butcher, absolutely evil.
Okay. And then an innocent life been saved with the exchange of bullets? Now, think about all of those innocent people he would have killed if I had not ended him.
Yes.
Oh, Juliet's a saleswoman too.
All right. Juliet hits all 4 of her advancement triggers. Juliet, take a grit. Yeah, because you completed 2 of your advancement triggers. And Bobby the Butcher is now dead. And Juliet, Cyrus, you found yourself in this situation a couple times now.
Yeah, Cyrus runs up and is like, wait, the bounty said dead or alive, right? And I like fumble around and I put in green X and I like fire 2 bullets into him and I like wait for something to happen and nothing happens. I'm like, oh, green X is toxic. Red Cross is healing. Green X is toxic. That's what it is.
Cyrus.
That's what it is.
Cyrus. My leg is real hurt.
Oh, well, I'm glad I tested that on him.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, you know what? Why don't I just use my med kit?
That sounds fun.
Here, sit down. Elevate that.
So the conditions aren't super great for you to heal Juliet's damage, but you do flip out your med kit. A very advanced piece of technology. It has over 100 different configurations, and you pull it out and reconfigure it so that you can treat a bullet wound in her lower leg. And go ahead and roll. The conditions will give you a -1, though I'm sure your med kit will give you some more bonuses on top of that.
Yeah. So I'll be rolling 4 dice against 14. But I only have the 2 hits. Oh, well, hang on. Let me re-roll one of these. Okay, I've got the 2 hits.
Okay, so your med kit automatically heals 3 hit points. And then every hit you get beyond that, because you're using a med kit, heals an additional 1.
Okay, so 5 total.
Great. I'm shipshape, and I will fix my armor later.
All right, yeah. So I pull a little magnetized tweezers out of my med kit, dig in there. It's like, oh, it's just a little pressure. Don't worry about it. And pull a bullet out. Put some sterilize the wound, clean it up, bandage it. Tear out a little gauze from my med kit and then wrap it around in a little bandage. And I'm like, good as new.
Good as new. Yep. Ow.
All right. Yeah. And as you guys begin to load these 3 bandits onto their horses, you can ride back into New Fenton with your bounty in tow to secure Cyrus's release from the New Fenton sheriff.
Now, when I said that you shouldn't hit me, that didn't mean you shouldn't hit me with healing bullets. It meant you shouldn't hit me with anything that was going to hurt. Does that not make sense to you?
Oh, you mean I shouldn't have betrayed you and shot you out of nowhere? Yeah, okay, I think I
tried it once before, so what I was just
those were healing bullets, okay?
There's no proof of that. They dented the roof.
And the camera stops tracking as the 2 of you start riding off into the horizon, bickering incessantly. And that is where we are going to end the live demo of Manifest the RPG.
Yay!
Oh, don't forget we get 8 experience points in these flashback characters.
Yeah.
Can we apply those to the podcast so we can?
Yeah. Put those on for the finale.
For the podcast finale? Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for joining us, Sean.
Wow.
It is time for us to answer some questions. I just tabbed over to it, and there's a lot of questions.
There's a lot. Yeah.
This is great.
Later. I'll keep tuning in.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, first off, thank you everyone for sending in a bunch of questions. This is fantastic. If you guys haven't sent in questions, it's not too late. You can see it there in the little chat tab. There's a little Q&A. You can click on that, hit send us a question, and go for it. We also had some questions that were sent in before from someone who couldn't tune in tonight. I'll dig those up. Addie, if you want to read one of the live questions right now.
Yeah, I'm going to, as we go ahead to answer them, I'm going to show them to the audience so you guys can see who asked and what the question is. So there's... hey, y'all, is there going to be a document that comes out at any point which would allow players to get a feel for the game before the books launch? Something that provides means and information to assemble, to run a one-shot with the system. Thanks and can't wait to play. Yes, so if you are a backer, I think at the $20 or more, then you will be receiving the quick start guide once we are successful. So April 1st, when the campaign ends. We have our quick start guide all assembled, and we just have to wait until the campaign is over. And then we will have it. We did miss free RPG Day submissions, so so we won't be able to do that, but we do have a document and for you guys, and also we've submitted for to run some play tests at Gen Con 2019. So there is another way for you guys to play if you're gonna head to Indianapolis in August.
Yeah. People running that will be myself, Addie. We have a couple of our playtesters who have stepped up. Sean Shirley, I think, is going to be running a couple. And anyone who's listened to the Essential NPCs podcast will recognize most of the people who are running the game at Gen Con. All right, so another question comes from Jack. Were there any sources of inspiration for Manifest outside the genres of sci-fi and Western? Any media, art, music, literature, video games, or other tabletop games that inspired any parts of Manifest rules or world building? I can actually, so when Yeah, when I started this out, when I wanted to get in like the headspace to work on the manifest rules and really like contemplate the world and everything, I would listen to my favorite band. It is Murder by Death. They have quite a few different albums on there. They're usually like conceptual albums. A lot of them kind of have like either like a sci-fi western or like rockabilly kind of like feel to them. A little bit of like dark Johnny Cash type things in some of them. The thing that makes them kind of like a little different than like a normal rock band is they have like a cellist, and it just adds this extra tone to it. And that's how I got in the mood for Manifest. And during many of the playtests, I would just turn on a Murder by Death album to listen to it. That's the one I can think of clearly. I'm sure there's tons of little things that like, contributed along the way. What about you, Addie? Anything jump to mind?
Yeah, there's kind of in the creative space. This is a really good question because inspiration comes from everywhere, not only like, the Sergio Leone movies, and then, obviously there's some Borderlands and the video games, and then also there's a little bit of like RPGs everywhere. There isn't anything necessarily specific for me because Manifest is like fully formed now, but it is just sort of like, do I think this is super cool? Yes, it inspires me, and that's kind of the creative process for everything. So thank you, Jack, for that.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. You can be inspired by literally anything if you're interested in creating stuff, which is the best part. Creative work is inspiring in and of itself.
Yeah, and I can definitely say tons of different games I played, all sorts. I'm sure all of them have seeped into Manifest in some way. Another question from Jack. He says, "Forgive the lengthy question. Abbreviate it however works best for you." Let me give it a quick scan real quick. So in the Kickstarter video, you mentioned how Manifest will adapt the Western genre to appeal to a more diverse audience than classic Western films. A lot of times things can feel exclusive because the designers or players of those games feel a need to be historically accurate. The Western genre originates from a dramatically macho culture, almost always revolving around white male protagonists. Can you talk a bit more specifically about how Manifest eliminates these constraints so that all sorts of players will feel at home making all sorts of characters in your setting?
I'm going to go ahead and
you're the lead writer. Go for it.
Okay. So this is actually a really important question. Thank you, Jack, for asking this. I am honestly not a fan of Westerns, specifically because of it is exclusively male for the most part. There are a couple like shining token females in there, and I assume for people of color and LGBTQ plus individuals, there's like zero representation for the most part from what I've seen. And so it was really important to me when Tommy was like, I'm making a sci-fi Western, that do you want to help me? That there was like representation across the board. I wanted it's sci-fi, and it's not based on like humanity's homeworld. We specifically don't refer to that as Earth because we don't want we don't want those sort of like, we have to be historically accurate sentiments seeping into a game, because honestly, Western tropes are really fun when sort of like removed from the travesties and just really like terrible things that happened to people who weren't on the whole like white dudes. So something that we've done, we've spoken with all of our artists, and we've explained this sentiment over and over again. They didn't need it more than once, but we're really adamant about it. Also, some of our stretch goals are going to be bringing on writers to help me write, fiction and authentic voices, to experiences that aren't mine. And so like we want to bring those voices on, and with the stretch goals and overfunding our Kickstarter, that's a lot of that is going to go that way. And then the other thing is I plan to, because it's got a lot of like American West stuff, inspired stuff, and a lot of that stuff is, especially like our critters and stuff, are going to be inspired by things that came from Native American cultures. There are a couple of, I've reached out to a couple of local Native American tribes people to get their input on, how to be sensitive about that, and what we should or should not include. And that's just the beginning, because I'm sure those people that I've reached out to and we plan to reach out to and include will also have really good ideas on how to be more inclusive. We want everyone to be able to enjoy this game and bring these sort of like heroic journeys into a safe and inclusive place. And I hope that answers your question fully. I wasn't necessarily checking off a list of things that I wanted to mention, but hopefully that if I didn't, please let me know. I'm happy to talk about this at length.
That actually, before I give like my 2 cents on it, it also leads directly into the next question, which is from Brahms. What made you gravitate towards this setting for a sci-fi setting besides Firefly? A lot of this. It was. I've always liked sci-fi because especially sci-fi that's not necessarily set in our timeline, right? Where it's just like, if it's set in our timeline, it's so far removed, because you can do so much with the sci-fi, and you can presumably in a society that has made it that far into the future, you can hope that like dumb prejudices and bigotry and stuff can kind of get like stamped out over the course of time and progress, and like people starting to like educate themselves and so on. And so sci-fi has always had like that little bit that I've liked, and I've always liked Westerns, and I've always been bummed that not everyone gets to like Westerns the way that I like Westerns, because like pretty much no one who is, not like a white male can open up, like just reach into a box of Westerns, whip out a movie, put it in, and see someone on the screen who looks like them doing cool shit. And a lot of times they'll see someone who looks like them, not like reduced to a like a bit role. And so that's always been something that's been important to me moving into Manifest. And that's the main reason why I was like, I'm going to make a sci-fi Western, and I'm going to make it a completely original setting, not this timeline. And that's where I started to go with like Manifest. And like, once you kind of like remove yourself from that, like you have so much creative freedom, you can do whatever you want, right? You can make things how you need. You don't need to like keep referencing back. You can tip your hat at like, this reality's, tropes and so on, but you're not beholden to them. So you can like trim the fat and pick out the things that are truly good. So that's what makes me gravitate towards this setting, like an original setting, like kind of a Western sci-fi, because I like the sci-fi tropes. I like quick draw. I like, 6 shooters and spinning guns around and playing poker in saloons. And sci-fi just makes it cool. It adds a fun dash to it, and opens up doors that can't be done in a purely Western setting. Do you want to go with the next one?
Sure. So the next question is, what made you decide on the D20 dice pool mechanic from Brahms?
There's actually, so I like systems that have tiered successes. I like systems that don't do black and white success. So I like systems in which you roll multiple dice, and the more dice you get, that are good, like the better. Like my favorite system is Shadowrun. You get to roll a bunch of dice, and there's other games like that I've played, like Tefra, the steampunk RPG, has tier successes. There's all sorts of games out there that kind of do that, like, oh, well, you only succeeded by a little bit, so you get some like give and take, and like that leads. It's always led to the narrative for me. So that was the first thing. I was like, I want to have a system where you roll more than just a single die to like resolve yes, no, success, fail. And at the time I had that thought, and at the time I started planning to make Manifest, I was actually dabbling in a war game called Infinity, in which you get to roll a bunch of D20s. And it was fresh in my mind how much fun it is to roll multiple D20s at a time. I can't stress it enough. It's super fun.
Try it. Yeah.
It's so great. Like, think about it. Like, if you just play D&D, think about when you get to roll with advantage, how great that feels. Now multiply that by 2. You get to roll 4 D20s. It's so good. It's got a nice weight to it. They feel great. So I was immediately like, yeah, I want to have a system where you roll a bunch of D20s. And that over the course of many years became the Fistful of D20s system. Yeah, so that's the main reason. It's just fun. And question from Steve. The Western theme is very strong in the setting, but what sort of sci-fi elements do the people in Manifest encounter day to day? Yeah, I can go on about that if you don't. What do you think, Addie? Do you want to take the lead? You've played in this world a lot. I've run it a lot.
Yeah, so I guess your average Badlands citizen isn't going to have a ton of sci-fi in their lives. They'll have like electric lights in a lot of places, but the one thing that they'll probably all have is an LRC tower, which is long range communication, which hooks up to computers. The other thing is that hover vehicles are not super rare. They're hard to maintain, but usually a stables will have them, especially for transporting heavy goods. And then the other thing is something that Dan Barron loves to call, from Essential NPCs, loves to call perfect matter conversion. There is some inventory mechanics in the game that allow different materials to be turned into, at a certain rate, into other materials that you can use. The crafting and tonics mechanics in general are very like advanced sci-fi-y feeling. However, there are other areas that are less sort of arid badlands, like the cities, where there's like high-speed rail and tall skyscrapers, where all of the technology, the remnants of technology, still exist. And so a city citizen will definitely feel like more sci-fi, kind of like if you guys have seen Firefly, the sort of like aerial planet where they go to the hospital there in that one episode. A lot of places like that have that feeling. Yeah.
The thing with the like gear and stuff was that I wanted there to be like resource management, because it's like it's a little bit of a frontiers game, and it has a little bit of survivalist to it, elements to it when you're like traveling from settlement to settlement in adverse conditions. So I wanted people to have to try and like manage an inventory, but I also didn't want someone to have to like open up their inventory and see like 70 little things that's like cooking pot and bolt cutters and whatever other weird tools you need. Like, I didn't want it to be that finicky. So the solution was that there's basically 3 broad material types that you'll have like what's considered like a cube of it. That's the unit of measurement. And so you have like a machinery cube, and that's like a bundle of machinery parts and tools and stuff that basically you can, given a moment, scramble together something. So like if you end up being like, oh no, we need a ladder. Hold on, I have a machinery cube, and you cobble together a makeshift machinery cube. Because the notion is that over the 400 years being on this planet, in order to survive with the limited technology they have, even the most basic person on Manifest has a little bit of a crafter streak to them, in that they can like take junk and put it together and make it function.
And what that means is that you guys can make a very sci-fi-y feeling game if you want, with airplanes and hover bikes and high-speed rail heists and jumping from really high buildings. I don't know.
There's plenty of grav manipulation technology out there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And or you can have a very Western feeling, or you can mix the two, which is what we really have found we love to do.
Yeah.
Is kind of do a little bit of both.
Chris.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Chris writes, when you say +1 to your roll, is that an extra d20 added to the player's fistful of d20s? No. The modifiers in Manifest apply directly to your target number. So you may have a rating of 10 in your ranged weapon skill. Your number of dice is determined by your attribute divided by 2, rounded up. And whatever weapon you have may give you some bonuses. So you might have like a very, very good gun that has like enhanced sights and is ergonomic, and you have a couple pluses there. So when shooting that gun, your range skill is considered 12 instead of 10. So modifiers always apply directly to the target value, which is important because, as we saw multiple times during this playtest, you want to roll within your range, but higher than your opponent.
Yeah. What he said. So the next question is from Jim. Hey, Tommy, how did you write and develop the many advancement triggers?
Well, time and a little help from my friends. So yeah, the idea was every path would have 8 advancement triggers associated with it, and a player could choose 4 of those to be their advancement triggers. And then as you, there's like milestones you can hit while you level up. And when you hit those milestones, well, every time you level up, you can swap them in and out within your own path. So if you're like Path of the Gunslinger and you're like, you know what, I don't think I'm going to do a particularly difficult shot. So I'm going to, we just leveled up. I'm going to swap out here because we're going to go to the carnival for a little while. Maybe, I guess carnival would be a good place for a particularly difficult shot. But beside the point. Point is, you might think, in the next few sessions, you might not need one of your triggers. So when you level up, you swap them out. And then there are milestone level ups you can actually hit that allow you to swap out your advancement trigger slots with other paths. So you can slowly become a different path. That's earlier in the playtest, Sean was saying Cyrus. Sean was saying Cyrus was full-on peddler, and that's because this is a low-level Cyrus. But those who listen to the Essential NPCs podcast know that Cyrus leans a lot more into his doctory ways in his later years. And that's because he's hit those milestones enough that he's been able to start swapping out his peddler advancement triggers with doctor advancement triggers. And the way I came up with that was trying to think of things that would fit the path and would lead people to play the path in a way that I thought kind of like fit what that path was supposed to be. So the deputy has a lot to do with like the local laws of the land and adhering to like authority and stuff like that. Being very like lawful good, basically. Whereas like a gunslinger has a lot more things that are just about making sure the person you kill is evil and making sure innocent people are protected by you killing evil people. And that's like very much like the gunslinger, and so more like neutral good. The another thing is making sure that they're broad enough that they have a wide spectrum and they're not super narrow.
Yeah, and the other reason that we have advancement triggers is to encourage the narrative play that we so desperately want in our game. If you choose path of the peddler, that you're trying to sell stuff, or your wares or whatever, or if you choose path of the grifter, you're trying to grift people. Basically, they're regardless of what the triggers are, they're hopefully designed to encourage the kind of role play for the character that you've chosen.
Yeah, and reward you for like because like sometimes you're hanging out like and someone in your party just can't help themselves. Well, in this case, when they can't help themselves, maybe you get XP for it. And so
Yay.
everyone's rewarded for people playing their character instead of just playing the most optimum thing to happen mechanically in the game.
And thanks, Jim. And then Wise Idiot says,
I like the screen name. My go-to screen name is Dumb Child.
what aspects of Manifest were inspired by previous seasons that were played in Essential NPCs? Essential NPCs, in case you guys didn't know, is our actual play podcast that we put out every week on Tuesdays. Go look it up.
Man, like a lot. So the thing is, every game I play, you know, I like the things I like in them. I try to carry them into Manifest in whatever way I feel like fits the world. You know, there's a very, very clear example is in season 3 of the Essential NPCs, we played the RPG Uncharted Worlds, which is like a spacefaring space opera game, and there's a mechanic in that game that I had never encountered before playing it on the podcast, and that was it's called Cramped Quarters in Uncharted Worlds, and it's like a mechanic in which you roll you choose somebody and you roll some dice and you see how you and that person get along in the journey from one planet to another. And you get to learn stuff about each other's characters, and you get to bond, or maybe end up like having something go wrong, and then there's tension in the group. That way, that kind of like interpersonal aspect of a bunch of people on a ship, like, you know, happens, and you don't just skip it. I absolutely ported aspects of that into Manifest. There is a mechanic called Shoot the Shit, which or Trail Talk if you want to be a little more PG, and it's about, like, you know, there's long distances between point A and point B on Manifest, and you're going to be traveling with these people probably with no one around for miles, and you're going to talk, and you're going to get on each other's nerves, and you're going to, you know, bond over something or learn something that you didn't know. And I've always liked. I mean, I immediately liked that when I played it in Uncharted Worlds, and it's something that I use basically in all my games. I port it into various RPGs all the time, so it was a no-brainer for me to kind of take that concept of like a mechanic that encourages people to get to know each other as characters. And put it in my game. So that's a really, really clear, easy one to show. But then everything else, there's all sorts of little things that I like from RPGs, because the whole point about Manifest when I started making it was to make an RPG that I wanted to play. So it has all the things I like about RPGs.
So then the next question is from Of the Ethereal. Okay, I'm sorry, I've pronounced
First
it wrong.
name of.
Tommy, if you were to have already played a PC in Manifest, what character creation choices would you make? Now you've played 2, right?
I have.
3?
I think I've just played 2 characters I've played 3 characters in Manifest. Yeah. Most of those decisions were because there were aspects of the game I wanted to test. They're not necessarily characters I wouldn't play, but I played them at that time because I wanted to test it out. So I played a brawler who was privileged, a privileged brawler who ran around in very heavy armor and like fought in gladiatorial fights in the Badlands for fun. I played a survivalist. I forget what his history was, but he was definitely Path of the Trapper. And he was a ton of fun. He was kind of a crafty trapper. And then I played a doctor character who, man, I broke my own game with that guy. I dual wielded crossbows with injection darts and filled them with either beneficial or adverse tonics, depending on who I was shooting at. And I had a jetpack, so I could see everyone on the battlefield, and I was just shooting tonics into everybody. And it immediately made me be like, oh, I need to work on some of these aspects of this game. I admit these might be a little too strong. I need to fix this and help me balance it out. I think if I was playing my heart, I would absolutely be Path of the Gambler, and I I would be a quick draw specialist, Path of the Gambler. That would be my ideal manifest character. Because all the Path of the Gambler triggers are actually luck based. There's a couple that's like you have a good string of luck, you have a bad string of luck, you do something despite a clear and present chance of failure. And I love taking risks in RPGs, and I like it's hard for me to say I like that this system because I did it. I did this intentionally. The Gambler is the path that you can play and be rewarded for taking just ridiculous risks and coming out ahead because of luck. So yeah, Path of the Gambler, quick draw specialist. I don't know what his history would be, but it's less important to me than the advancement triggers and the skills he would have.
Then Brahms asks another question. Will we see a Roll20 variant in the future, perhaps? A lot of play that I do is in the online space, so that would be great.
Us too.
Yeah, and we would absolutely love to do that. It's something that, unfortunately, I actually haven't spent a lot of time on Roll20. So even though I have probably enough skills to figure it out, I don't know how to do it yet. So if we want to do it before the book's release, or simultaneously with the book's release, we'd probably have to find someone to do it, which is sort of stretch goal territory. But eventually, certainly, there will be a Roll20. The game will be available on Roll20 for sure.
Definitely on our wish list.
Yeah, RPGs are, in my experience, just becoming more and more digital, and I think that we would be crazy to say no to that.
Yeah, half of our friends live in other states anyways.
Yeah, for sure. We've played Manifest a lot, actually, online, so wouldn't be the first time.
Right.
Yeah, thanks. It's a really good question, because people are want to know.
So Ryan asks, is leveling up a specific event that triggers when you get a certain amount of XP, or is it incremental? It is, there's like thresholds. So once you, every session you can hit one of your advancement triggers once. And at,
each of your advancement triggers.
Each of your advancement triggers once. So you max out at 4 XP per player, basically. But it's not always like this playtest. It's a lot easier with just 2 players for everyone and a tailored session for everyone to hit all of their triggers. So you probably average about like 2 or 3 XP per player each session. And there are certain you've reached this much XP, you're now level 2. Oh, it's this XP, you're now at level 3. And the slope is quick at the beginning. You level up pretty fast at the beginning. I've always, every time I try out a new character, I hate it when I have to wait like 7 sessions in an RPG before I can feel like that character has gotten better. You level up pretty quick at the beginning of Manifest. It only starts petering out around the mid levels. That's where it starts becoming a little bit longer between level ups, but you get bigger rewards too. You get more and more talent points the higher your level is. And talent points are incredibly important because that's the thing you can bank, right? Your XP hits and you get some attribute points and some skills as soon as you level up, but then you get a certain amount of talent points depending on what level you hit. And the talent points you can either spend or you can bank them for later because talents cost different values. And sometimes you're really holding out for that really, really cool talent that you can get, but you got to wait a few levels before you get it. There's some really cool talents at the bottom of the talent trees. I'm really excited for you guys to see them once the game is funded. They're super fun. I hope that answers the question. Addie, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it's mostly kind of what you said. There's a limited amount of points you can collect, XP points you can collect based on the number of player characters per session, because everybody has 4. So if you're playing with four players, you would have a potential of 16 XP. Every level has a certain threshold. I think it's 6 for between level 1 and level 2, and it gets bigger from there. I did all the math. I promise it makes sense. And once you reach those thresholds, like Tommy says, you get cool boosts. And then there are, I wouldn't call them necessarily tiers, but there are groups of levels where the rewards get bigger because as you level up, you should be getting bigger rewards. You've invested into this character, and so we wanted to make sure that was that it felt rewarding to level up once you started to having to wait to level up and couldn't just level up every session.
Those are those milestone levels I was talking about.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
So the next question is from Matt. Matt asks, in most games that I run, I love to homebrew items and